Alien Rage is a first-person shooter in the spirit of older player versus everything action shooters such as Doom. It has a linear story where you shoot aliens in hallways with multiple paths, and other variants of hallways on an abandoned human mining outpost. Your goal is just that, to destroy everything. Discovering the actual plot behind it feels more like a side task, since most of it is hidden behind collectible logs that you find scattered throughout the levels. That is, if you're even actually looking for them. Because of that, the story of this game is somewhat lacking. Not the biggest deal for a hallway-based shooter like this. So long as a game of this genre has good gameplay, then what does it need a good story for, right? Well, the gameplay is just as annoying. There's an incessant head bob you cannot turn off using in-game settings that makes you feel like your character is intentionally throwing his head around as you move. This makes it very hard to be aware of your surroundings. None of the guns have names until you pick them up, so changing guns on the fly can be a little aggravating, unless you memorize what all the guns look like. You can jump, which is nice, but there's not much of anything to jump over, so I don't really understand the point, since most obstacles in this game are scaled by pressing E on a prompt, or by shooting explosives on a prompt. The tutorial doesn't teach you much other than the basics, and by teach, I mean subtitles with instructions that come up on your screen the moment you start the game for a few seconds, and that's it. The sensitivity settings all feel just wrong. Maybe the head bob is to blame, but the gameplay just lacked fluidity. The game at least looks pretty good graphically, and I absolutely loved the sound effects and the voice acting. I was actually very pleasantly surprised by the fidelity of the visuals, sound effects, and the music, when the rest of the game was as bad as it is. Of course, that's if you ignore the constant lag every time something ahead of you is loading in, and that using the in-game anti-aliasing creates unstoppable game-ruining frame drops that, while they can be fixed by turning off anti-aliasing in-game and forcing the settings through your control panel, why should I have to do that to begin with? The difficulty settings are non-existent. There are difficulty settings, but they really don't affect much. You're either fighting random enemies and never die because they're so easy to kill, or you're fighting stronger enemies that are bullet sponges and force you to use a non-existent cover system to beat them while they lob things like fire over the cover at you. The AI, I think, was the best part of this game. It wasn't good in any other way but one, though. The normal enemies used tactics. Certain enemies would charge you with shotguns while others try to flush you out with explosives, and finally others would shoot at you with rifles once you exposed yourself. Now, that's only actually in the game if you happen to have all the different types of enemies fighting you at once, which is not all that common. By themselves, their tactics make them predictable, easy to kill, and generally just stupid looking. Alien Rage gets a 3 out of 10 from me. It's a bad game. It was poorly designed and poorly executed. I do not recommend it to anyone simply because it isn't fun. Those 3 points come from the production value of what actually works in the game. The multiplayer is long dead, so don't bother buying it for that. Better yet, I would say just don't buy it at all. It's not worth your money. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Line fire, Doc.
What the hell is he saying? Iris, can you translate?
Yes, but I don't think you want to know.
Try me.
Say hello to my little friend.
You're right. I don't want to know.
Reinforcements, watch it.